Well, welcome to another episode of Hockey Mafia. I'm Joe Fresta.
I am DiMaggio, and we are back. It's, what is it, November 21st? It's a Thursday night.
We're past the quarter of the season, right?
Yeah, and a lot has happened since the last time you and I sat at this table.
Absolutely.
A lot of exciting stuff, a lot of fun stuff, a lot of interesting things.
Well, you hit that mark, that quarter mark, and then you start seeing, some coaches coming and going. We'll get into that a little later. There's probably a few more on the hot seat, I'm sure. But
there are. The anniversary of Berube getting hired came up this week.
How about that? Yeah, Happy anniversary, Coach Berube, Chief.
So he got hired a year ago. I think it was this past Tuesday or Wednesday.
So Yo got fired that quick, boy. I thought they let him go a little bit more.
That caught me off guard too. I'm like, wait, I thought they would have given him a little. But think about it. They gave him a whole lot of rope the year before.
Yeah,
and that's as far as they got. So so that happened too. So
I
guess that leads us. We'll go right into it, huh?
Yeah. What have you got?
Let's get started.
Where are we headed
to? State of the Blues as of right now. I've got to tell you, I'm worried.
You're still worried?
One name I'm going to put out there, and I guess we could save this for my hot or not, but Dunn. That guy is beginning to...
Vinny Dunn.
Yes, he is... he's not too good.
Not too good. Hey, Vinny.
His offense is stellar, I guess, but his defense is getting more and more worrisome to me.
Really?
The game the other night that they had against the Ducks, he was involved in a couple of just plain old lazy giveaways. And I don't know. Am I is he going to work his way in, or should we give him time?
Every once in a while, you're going to have a bad game. I'm still worried. You know what I'm still worried about? Falk. Where's this guy at?
Well, huh? I guess I'm done worried about Falk because we've done all the worrying, and and he's kind of been. Let's put it this way: he's been consistent. Whatever we thought of him, he hasn't changed.
He's kind of right in that pocket now. I guess that's who he is.
I guess that's who he's going to be. Somebody said, talking about him and that big contract he got, that he had never, in his best year, and actually his numbers, if they played out what he's gotten in the past, worth a quarter point. If he plays out, I guess they're middle of the road for Blues defensemen as far as goals, points, minutes. He's getting minutes, but if you compare him to what Edmondson's doing so far this year, I don't know. But anyway, I'm more worried about Dunn and him because he was a big key to last year's team, and he's performing less than stellar so far.
I don't know. I like the kid. I'm
not saying I don't like him.
Maybe he had a bad game.
You think?
It happens.
But this is all right. You watch him. Let's watch him for the next couple of games. See what happens.
Yeah.
How's that?
Well, okay. We'll circle back next show.
Are you worried about their record so far? The Blues. How do you feel?
No,
about
they're
that?
in first place
But I'm saying, let's say their last
four
or 5 games, right? No, they are. They are.
Well, they sputtered again. We talked about it. These 2-goal leads.
Yeah.
Late in the game. They were pushing the envelope. Dangling off the cliff, and they'd get lucky and whatever and win it in overtime or a shootout. But that's what I said last show is I'm a little worried about that. I'd like to see a team that is this good, a championship team like the Blues, close some teams out in regulation, by 2, maybe 3 goals. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's but then they had a real good they had a good showing against Tampa Bay. Two good periods, which were the latter part of the game. Right, they came out a little flat in the first period, probably because of the Pat Maroon thing and all that. His homecoming, and we'll get to that later.
We'll get to that.
Probably a little off kilter there. But the second period, third period, they came on and played their game again. Defensemen jumping up in the play. That's the St. Louis Blues we have to see. I mean, when the Blues play well and when they're winning, the defensemen are jumping up in the play.
And they
stop doing that. That's when they kind of, get in a little trouble.
They were calling the shots the other night against Tampa Bay. They were owning the game. They owned the ice. Did you see the second period? I think the shots were 18-4.
Yeah, that's when they turned it around. I mean,
so does that worry you that they got 18 shots and only 1 goal?
What about the game before? They had a season high shots on goal.
Yeah, well, that
still.
Well, when you get, like I said, when you give up the puck twice in your own, they've played well. They've just had lapses that kind of worry me. That are, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just maybe over.
Yeah, I think it's. I think you are.
I think.
That's
I mean, they're in first place, right? What do we expect? They're in first place.
That happen during the course of a season.
What are they? Second place overall? I think something like that.
They're
overall.
Oh, overall.
Yeah, I think
they're like third, fourth
behind.
Yeah.
So,
those Eastern Conference teams that are supposed to be.
We'll get to that.
Not as good as a Western Conference, right?
Yeah.
Huh? The Bruins looking real good.
The Islanders.
They look hungry. The Islanders. They've
15 games.
What an upstart team they've been.
15.
Right?
And they are. I watched them the other night just so I could talk about them here today. That team is impressive. They got impressive players. They are. They're good.
They're a good young team.
They are good, and their goaltending. I mean, if it holds up, they're gonna make some noise out there.
Make some noise, sure they will.
They're not afraid of anybody.
And then we got our two hungry ones out there: the Capitals, and the Bruins, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these guys.
And they are heavyweights, man.
The Bruins are out to prove something, and the Capitals want that cup back, right? Can you see it?
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're on a mission. Both those teams.
And they're having their. We're at the quarter point, right? Everybody broke out of. They established. They made statements at the beginning. Now everybody's kind of settling in. You've got some teams that are, I think, some teams are tired, which I can see that. The Capitals, the Bruins, they've had some games that are off, but that doesn't mean they're not. They're not going to end up, at the top of the league and fighting for the cup here next spring. So.
You never know. I mean. You think they're gonna have their peaks and valleys?
Yeah, they're gonna have ups and downs. I mean, they can't put it together.
But you can tell by the tenacity they're showing as of late that they're out to prove something. They're out to show everybody that.
Right.
Hey.
So leads us into who's hot, who's not. Right.
Yeah. Go ahead. You
want
first.
to try? I'll try hot. Who's hot? Well, obviously the New York Islanders are hot, but Yaroslav Halak is hot.
How about that?
How about that name,
former
right?
Blue.
There's former Blues leading teams all over the league, but he has been playing outstanding for Boston.
Yeah.
I mean, the other night he was. I know. Is it going to stay that way? I don't know, but in the last week
for Boston,
that's the team I'm talking about. You think they've won all their games with Rask in goal? No, that hasn't been the case.
Tuukka.
And they've talked about that. That Tuukka could not. He's not going to be able to handle that kind of load, so Halak has to. And they did last year. They did the same thing until they got to the playoffs.
Maybe that's the kind of goaltender Halak is. I remember the Blues took him from the Canadians. Probably something the Canadians saw in him that nobody else did, because he had a hell of a run that year.
He sure did.
I mean, he was Binnington-esque, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the Canadians just kind of like, well, we're just going to let him. I mean, they knew something about that kid that obviously the Blues did not, and the rest of the league, because he came to St. Louis and he just kind of we didn't see any of that Montreal Canadiens.
It's true.
play.
He fell apart.
And,
he wasn't anywhere near what he was that year
and
before.
So now I think we see him settle into what he is. He's kind of he's a tandem goalie.
Right. Exactly.
He's
He's not your number one.
He's a shared duty guy.
Exactly. And he does a good job doing. I mean, he's done a great job for Boston doing it, and that's a conversation we can have one day.
Yeah.
Is all what Blues do to goalies.
Yeah. Well, there's been a lot of them.
So we can go through that list. But that's I'd say those are my two. Who's hot, who's not? Yeah. Calgary Flames. To me, are,
really,
my God.
You didn't watch that game against Montreal the other night?
Okay. So
Tkachuk?
Have you watched all the other games?
In overtime?
Have you watched all their other games?
Yeah, they've been.
They have not. I mean, and
talk about a coach that might be on the hot seat. He could be.
And then
we'll see if they don't turn it around.
Tkachuk, my other hot.
Another St.
One more hot.
Is that your hot guy?
No, one more hot. I got one more. I had Halak and I had the Islanders. But my one more, Darcy Kemper. I like the guy. What can I say?
You and your goaltenders, man.
Have you seen? He took out Tkachuk. Did you see that? He didn't like what he saw, and he started a big melee.
Yeah, that was a few games. It was last week,
yeah,
wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, we haven't been here in a little bit. So anyway.
Big melee.
That's my hot and not you.
I'm going to go with Cale Makar, the defenseman. 22 points in
unreal.
20 games.
Yes.
First 20 games.
And he's up in the, I think he's middle number 2 right now in the Calder. In the Calder. Yeah, no, I know. But
last one to do it was Brian Leach.
Yeah.
Of New York Rangers.
New York Rangers. Yeah, that kid is.
So he's in some some good company there.
Yeah, and he's earned it, man.
Really
he's
impressive.
done a great job.
I could name a bunch of guys. I mean, David Pasternak, but
but
we'll be talking about him all year long because he's just
Right.
that kind of player. Don't know why they call him Pasta. He's not even Italian.
He's not
I don't
even
get
that.
that.
He's not
What
even
do they call him
close.
Pasta for? He's a Czech.
Oh.
He's a Czech guy. Pasta.
Yeah, but he's doing what he's supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
You
We might have to send somebody to go see him about that.
talk
nickname.
about his name,
Yeah,
take a
forget
vowel
about it.
out or
Can't have
something.
that.
We'll see if we can get
Doesn't
rid of a
even
vowel.
Doesn't even have a vowel. It's an R.
Oh, and the pasta. We'll take out the first one, then it'll be.
I don't know.
That's so. You got anybody else? Hot wise?
Those two. I mean, the kid.
they are.
He's the defenseman. I mean, you got to be impressed with that.
Yeah,
But like I
he
said,
does a
David
great thing,
Pasternak. We'll be talking. You'll hear his name a lot over the course of the year. He's just that good of a player. But who's not? The Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh, welcome to the club.
Yeah.
Remember at the beginning of the year, you told me how fast they were.
Yeah.
You didn't mean how fast they'd get rid of coaches, though, did you?
That happened real fast.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
Flew out to Phoenix and gave him the heave ho.
Now, let me ask you a question. Do you think that that's going to change anything for Toronto?
Well,
was he the problem?
Obviously, upper management felt that this was a long-term thing.
Yeah.
So it was probably, which leads to the fact of why they went out and said, let's just fire him now rather than, look at each game and go, okay, well, they did, I think they looked long-term.
Yeah.
And I think that was smart. And, they go down and get the head coach for the Marlies to take over, Sheldon. So he's supposedly a player's coach. Now, we talked about that before, player's coach. It's probably a little bit easier to be a player's coach in the AHL because you have a little bit more control over your players. Because
you're the boss, right?
Because they want to get
exactly.
They want to go to the show, so they're not gonna go against the grain so much down there. But when you come up to the big time, and it's a lot harder to be a player's coach. And he's a young guy too. He's like 36 years old, but and he's coached most of those guys except Matthews, Marner, Nylander. So those guys are the leaders of that team, and we'll see how they interact and how they how that goes with the new young guy behind the bench.
Well, here's my take on it. Right, I think Babcock, the game had passed him by a little bit in Toronto.
I think so too.
With the players he had.
Yeah.
Can I say that? I don't think he's a bad coach by any stretch, but that game had passed him by. You get some statistics.
He's not a youth movement coach.
No, not at all.
No.
And here's a perfect example. You had Matthews. He basically ran 4 lines, and he ran 4 lines consistently. Mm-hmm. So Matthews and Tavares aren't getting any more minutes than any of the other lines on. So is that something that's going to change now, you think? You think those two guys will be getting more time?
I mean, the guy hasn't, that's another one.
Yeah.
Now, if the Maple Leafs were a team full of Tavareses, maybe a Babcock works in that situation, but they're not a team full of Tavareses. Let's face it.
But I mean,
a bunch of young guys.
I can see the point where why wouldn't you run your horses? I mean, they were middle team. They weren't horrible, right? They were a mediocre, middle of the road team to date. Their record, performances, goals against, goals for, the whole thing. They are pretty much right in the middle of the pack.
But I think you and I agree. They're a top heavy team, right?
Without a doubt.
They're so heavily invested in those forward lines,
right?
That there's not a whole lot of not a lot on the back line, right?
So are they going for in humor me for a minute? So in soccer, there was coaches that have brought up a new scheme, and basically it's a top heavy scheme, right? And the idea is we want to beat you 5-4, so we'll give up 4 in order to get 5. Is that where they're going with this?
Yeah, like a great offense is the best defense.
Right.
That type of thinking where hey, if the puck's always down on their end, They can't.
I
they
mean,
surely can't score on
because
us,
you look
right?
you look at their goaltending, you look at their
hasn't
defense.
worked out that
Right,
way.
but because Babcock was he not implementing that style? Is that even a style you'd want to go for?
No, I wouldn't.
Right.
You got to be strong.
I don't know. I'm
on all-
asking. I'm not
You got to
judging.
be strong
I have no
on all
idea.
facets of the ice. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Not in this league. Maybe in minor league
Yeah.
hockey, you can get away with that kind of thing.
But you spent all that money on Barry, and he's not on your power play unit. I mean, just a lot of things. Babcock. I'm just speaking. I'm thinking out loud. Does that coaching change? Obviously, tonight it's their first game.
I think it was a good move.
We'll see what happens.
I don't have any problem with it. I think they got to start thinking long term. I mean,
They had to.
I mean, their fans in that market. I mean, Matt Sundin came out. He was the captain of that club for a long time, leading scorer.
Right.
He came out and prior to the firing and said, it's just really tough to play in this market, to be a general manager, a coach, or a player. Same thing in Montreal. And so, the pressure, they lose 6 in a row, and these fans,
And not just by a little, right? They
it's
weren't fighting.
They're front page news every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well.
So they're, the heat was on. They had to.
He had to go. When he was going to go was really the question.
Right.
And there was a quote attributed to Babcock today that went something like this. I'm paraphrasing, but if I don't get a coaching job for the next 20 years, I'll advance into the playoffs as far as Toronto will.
Is that a? Huh?
You think he's a little?
I don't know. I saw a statement he released. He very much the high road. I don't know.
I don't think he has a leg.
Everybody the best of
I
luck.
do too.
Blah blah blah. All the
Now brings you another point. Do you think because he just got fired, are other coaches? You brought this up earlier in the conversation. Is there? Because Babcock is now available, are other coaches on more of a hot seat than they were yesterday?
Yeah, because it gets people thinking about it. It was front page news.
If Babcock's available, is anybody replaceable?
Does Detroit hire him?
Because I was thinking somewhere else.
Because Detroit, is he going to go back to Detroit? Because Detroit's he's on the hot seat too.
Yeah,
they're not.
No, they shouldn't be as bad as they are.
But again, that's a youth movement over there. He's not going to be
do.
walking into a veteran-laden locker room.
Here's one I was thinking of. Tell me what you think.
Sure.
Tampa Bay.
Yeah, they're a little bit more mature.
They are exactly the kind of team.
Uh-huh.
He's got established players. He's got defense. They lack discipline down there. Is what they lack.
He wouldn't have to change his suits and ties.
He'd be perfect.
Huh?
Yeah, everything would work out. The blue and white.
Would stay the same, right? Huh?
He could do it. It'd be perfect.
Ferragamo ties.
I'm saying if they weren't on the hot seat on Tuesday, they're on the hot seat.
Well,
maybe
when that first firing comes out, right? It's the first.
Yeah.
The first quarter's over. That first firing comes out. The media is all over it, and then it starts turning on the light bulbs all over the league.
Exactly.
Right? It's just the way it is.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But obviously, we want him to do well, Babcock.
Sure.
But he wasn't. He just wasn't the man for that job. Not for the team.
Not for a youth movement.
And then let's go to a feel-good story now that we've railed on somebody for a while.
What do you got?
So Pat Maroon came back to town. First time as a Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah.
And it was in St. Louis, and he was greeted quite nicely.
Did you see
I
the
did.
pregame?
I did.
I thought it was really great.
It was a classy. I mean, the Blues organization stepped up and did quite a job. I thought that was a very classy act.
Yeah, and the fans, of course, they love him.
Absolutely.
He is the hometown hero.
Absolutely. He was part of the Stanley Cup winning team, right?
He scored that winning goal on his buddy Benny Bishop, another St. Louisan, in that Dallas Stars series. But just really neat to see him come back, and his son Anthony, and his fiancee Francesca there, to kind of be there.
It was a neat moment.
It was a really cool moment.
It was a, if I can say it, a typical St. Louis moment. It was appreciative. Right. The crowd, even though he played for the other team, it was a big warm welcome and a thank you.
Well, hey, come on.
No,
Look what he did. I mean,
there's places that might not have happened.
They won a Stanley Cup.
I understand.
He had some key moments in that run.
Yeah.
And he's a St. Louis guy.
Yeah.
They love him.
But they did a good job.
Guy will never have to buy a beer again in this town or a vino. in my case.
And he can drink a lot of beer.
Yeah.
So yeah, congratulations to Pat Maroon. That was good.
Yeah, that was really cool. First time.
And he's a player on that team, man. He is.
He's scoring some goals as of late. Yeah, he's been chipping some stuff in. So it's good.
He's doing his part.
Almost had one against the Blues.
Yeah, he's doing his part.
So yeah, he's. I like that number 14 on his back.
Yeah,
that looks good.
Yeah, I like
that. Yeah.
He looked good as a player. He fit in. You know, he was part of that team.
Seemed to be moving pretty good. You know, getting up and down the ice pretty well when he's out there.
Making a statement. He's a monster. You know, when they showed some of the replays of last year, you kind of see what the Blues are missing a little bit, don't you? In his play?
Absolutely, sure.
I kind of saw a little bit of a attitude on the ice.
Remember what I said.
I know.
It's not too far-fetched that he may come back here for a playoff run.
If
the Lightning go south, and the Blues are right there.
If they keep going south. Yeah, no, you're right.
You know, he could end up right back
not
here.
Out of the
no, never.
All right, what about our buddy?
What about our buddy?
Yeah. Don Cherry.
Don Grapes. Yeah. Well, Bobby Orr came to his defense.
Boy, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, finally. I mean, not finally, but good. Good.
One of the arguably one of the best hockey players in all of the NHL of all time.
One of the best of all time, right?
And comes out in Don Cherry's defense.
Yeah.
Of course, the other side you look at, well, you know, he's an old time hockey guy. Blah blah blah. But you know what? Bobby Orr doesn't come out and make many statements. He's a pretty quiet guy.
Yeah, no,
very
exactly.
low key.
Exactly. He's
very
class
low
act,
key.
and
The Bruins have a hard time getting him to do things.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so for him to come out, I know they're very good friends. They talk every day. But, you know, that says something that he'd come out in his defense. And from what I understand, Don's coming out with a podcast.
Is he?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, at least we wanted to look at those suits.
You think?
Huh?
Maybe it's a video
Definitely
podcast.
not Brioni. Okay? Or Zania. No.
Oh, my God. Yeah, well, you know what?
So that's what he's going to do.
Well, good for him.
Who knows? He'll find, you know.
He'll get back in.
He'll in some way, shape, or form.
They're gonna.
Yeah.
He two things. One, it was undeserved. You know, it was an overreaction, and really, it wasn't warranted at all. You know, for what he said to what the punishment, it was way heavy. So he'll come back, and some channel, some station, some broadcast, they'll hire him.
Well, you know, that's the climate we live in today in all of North America.
Right.
Somebody, you know, gets their butt out of joint over some little stupid thing they say. It's just, you know, and good luck, Ron McLean. Wow.
Good luck to you.
Huh?
How do you think he's going to act?
You know what happens to you. You do that. Huh?
Yeah. Huh? When you go visit Pasternak, somebody's going to go visit
Yeah.
McLean as well.
Right.
Oh, my God. It's just...
We'll get a 2-for-1.
I don't know, man.
Anyway, yeah.
So now let's talk about my favorite subject.
Sure.
Next. Are we done? Do you want to talk about
No, we can move
grapes?
on.
We're good? And all the silliness. I don't even want to cover it. It's just, it's like you said, a sign of the times, and it's just...
It is.
It's unfortunate.
It is. Right.
My favorite subject, goalies.
Yeah.
One of my favorite goalies. One of the guys I talk about that
Your
annoys
favorite.
you. Well, not one. He's not
Your
my
man crush.
He is one of the goalies, like I've said, who has established a career over a long period of time, and there's not many of those. Henrik Lundqvist.
Gosh, I should have known.
Last night.
Yeah.
What did he?
He
tied what?
Your other.
What another? You asked me who my favorite Blues goalie was, right?
Those are your top two guys, right?
They're up there. Curtis Joseph.
Cujo.
Up to date, one of the winningest goaltenders of all time, right? Mm-hmm. Last night, Mr. Henrik Lundqvist tied Curtis Joseph, 5th all-time winning. What was it? 454 victories.
Pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Now,
place to be.
Let's circle back to a conversation we had, I think it was last week or the
right.
week before that, about goalies.
Yeah.
That's his 454th win.
Yeah.
Glenn Hall played 500 consecutive games in NHL.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Now, that's a goaltender.
That's a tough man.
No mask.
I'm not arguing with you.
I know. But I think you put a little too much love on that guy. I don't know. He's a good goaltender. I mean, you know. But
it goes back to another conversation we had. Are you a champion? Are you special? Are you Hall of Fame worthy if you haven't won a Stanley Cup? Can you still be a great player?
Yeah, it's a big part of the criteria.
Let me put it to you this way.
If you don't have a ring, it's tough.
If you have the top 25 players of all time, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you be the top 25 without having won a Stanley Cup?
Yeah, if you're like top 5 in scoring, assists.
How about top
goals,
5 in all-time victories and goalies? I mean, he's not done yet. He's gonna break. He's gonna break
Who's
that.
Who's the next guy ahead of him? Do you know?
No, I don't.
Well, I mean, you're right. Top 5.
So,
I mean, he's probably nipping at the heels of somebody else. Can't be too far off. You know how that stuff goes.
Yeah, I mean, that's my point. Is that somebody like him, and they said it. I mean, it
might be Eddie Giacomin.
I don't think it is, but okay.
I love that. Now, you talk about goalies. That guy was a goalie, okay? Eddie Giacomin, the best.
Come on. We'll have that conversation sometime. Goalies of yesterday compared to goalies of today.
I know. I gotta throw Giacomin in there.
But those
get you going.
So you get those guys, right? Are they athletes compared to what these goalies are today? I'll give you my opinion if you want it. But
they are. They don't have to be as much. I mean, when you put equipment on, it makes you look like the Michelin.
No,
man.
you are wrong. You are wrong. You are wrong.
Go ahead. What?
No, I'm just going to tell you, you're wrong. They are athletes. They are more athletic than.
Well, of course they're athletes.
I guess that was a stupid thing to say, but Eddie Giacomin.
Okay.
All right, you're a man crush apparently. You take him and you put him in a physical contest with, pick one, Henrik Lundqvist, Darcy Kemper, Jonathan Quick, move any of those guys.
A physical contest. Eddie Giacomin is going to kick Lundqvist's ass in a fight every time.
All right.
Okay.
Let it go. So if they get on a treadmill, who do you think's going to win?
Athletic ability. I know what you're saying. Nah,
but anyway, congratulations.
No, they're all great athletes, but the movements today for a goaltender are so technical now.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
There's not a whole lot of athleticism involved as much as there were. I mean, these guys had a lot less equipment, which meant more net to cover. And they had to flop around and dive around and just to get to pucks and cover the net. I mean, it was amazing what these guys did.
Mr. Fresta, I don't want to.
There was no butterfly.
I don't want to call you out.
In Eddie Giacomin's era.
Okay, but now there is. There has to be. You know why? 2019-2020 season so far to the quarter point. Mm-hmm. Highest scoring season since 2013. One of the top 2 scoring seasons so far.
Really?
Yes.
Total goals.
Total goals.
Well, I mean, not using wood sticks anymore.
No.
Huh? They're these sticks.
That does make. You're right.
These sticks today.
No, you're right. I mean, absolutely.
You rarely see anybody take a slap shot anymore, right? Because a guy's wrist shot today is just as hard as most guys, slap shots are.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Those sticks are.
They're
game changers.
They're not sticks; they're buggy whips.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, they got so much play in them, and they can store up so much energy when they shoot the puck. Now,
you're right.
And it gets off much quicker.
And these kids have control on those pucks more than ever, right? And because of those sticks.
Yeah, they can pick a corner easy. Yeah. Once they know a stick, they know the feel, the flex, and all that. And they get a curve they like.
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing what they can do. We talked about it. Last week about, some of the stuff these kids can do, and they're just, when you watch them in practice or in a pregame, and they're just, messing around with a puck. I mean, Phil Esposito wasn't doing that stuff.
No, their skill level is immeasurable. They are so head and shoulders above.
Oh yeah, you didn't see Phil at on Peter Puck when they did Showdown in the NHL, come down and top the puck, flip it up, and go around and hit and beat his brother in the top corner.
No, he wasn't doing that. He was at the bar probably until 10, 20 minutes before the game.
Yeah, before the production.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, that's something.
That was great, wasn't it? You remember that? Peter Puck?
Oh, yeah.
Showdown in the NHL?
Absolutely.
Oh, it was great.
That's what they need to bring that kind of stuff
They need to bring that back. Get rid of the shootout. let's get rid of the shootout, and we'll bring back showdown in the NHL.
And that's how they would settle games, you think?
No, they just can. The guys can make extra money.
That's funny.
Yeah,
I like that idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
They need entertainment, and they are building towards it, but they've got a lot of potential that they're not tapping into just yet, and I'm sure they will.
With what?
The talent, the youth, the marketability of the players that they have right now. They could really they could really do a lot.
Here's the problem with that. If the kids today didn't wear helmets and shields today, they'd be a lot more marketable.
You're right.
I mean, there was so much personal identity back in the day, right?
Ron
the
Duguay.
guys, they'd be flying around, and the Canadians, the French Canadians would have that hair glue, and they'd have it all slicked back. They all looked like Rocket Richard out there flying around because that was their idol. Let's face it. And then you had other guys. You had guys like Gary Younger with the coif, right? With the helmet.
Ron Duguay.
He had so much hair. He had so much hairspray in his hair. It looked like that was his helmet. Talk about that. He jokes about that a lot.
Yeah. So they had they had their own personality.
Sure.
Is there a rule? I don't know. Can players not paint their helmets? Is that part of their uniform rule?
No, you can't paint your helmet. No, it's got to be a team
color.
A team color. Absolutely.
So not like
Where'd
the
you
goalie?
come up with that idea?
I asked you. I didn't come up.
No,
goalies can paint their masks and they have personalities.
You can't touch anything anymore.
Why don't they let them
touch it?
Yeah.
No. The league has become so cookie cutter now that you can't. I tell you that story with the numbers in the front of the helmet. I watched a preseason game 3 years ago with the Blues, and I saw the guy. A tight shot on a guy. He had his number right on the front of his helmet. I thought, oh wow, that's pretty cool. Blues are doing something a little different this year. Yeah, they painted on another guy, the other team. Same thing. Same numbers in the front of the helmet. It's all cookie cutter now, so nobody's really allowed to have much of a personality anymore.
They can't. That'd be the only way. The only way they could have any kind of differentiation would be if their helmets were different or they did something
right.
But what, these young kids that watch these players, the NHL players, and idolize and try to emulate them, they know who's who.
Oh, absolutely.
They know
because they're so dialed into hockey.
But even they could take them out of the helmets and on a personal level, because hockey players they're personal people, right?
Even hockey fans, you could be sitting, you could be at a restaurant and there could be a table full of them at a table right next to you. You don't even know it's them.
You're right.
You know why? Because you don't recognize them out of their uniform and helmet.
You're right.
Shield and everything else. You just don't even know. You don't know who they are.
Yeah. No, you're right. And my brother, who's a big hockey fan, was at a restaurant.
Yeah.
Sitting right behind him was Joel Edmondson and his girlfriend eating dinner. He had no idea until they left, and then the waiter had to tell him who it was.
What restaurant was this?
It's over in Soulard.
Yeah.
Sydney Street.
Oh, Sydney Street Cafe. Very good restaurant, by the way.
He was telling me how great it was, and how
that's a prime example right there.
Yeah.
There's just
and he's a big fan, my brother.
There's no personality in the game anymore. Really, there is, but there's not as much as there could be.
There's talented kids. There's no personalities.
Right.
So like McDavid, Matthews, different Tays and their abilities and their skill, and you watch them and you're mesmerized.
Mm-hmm.
But if you see them in the street, like you said, you wouldn't really know one from the other.
You and I might, but
a few. But there's ones we wouldn't know.
Other people,
right?
Because we're so dialed in.
But there's Blues players you and I wouldn't know.
Yeah,
so
I don't know.
But hey,
what's next?
Injuries. So now we go back to the Blues. We missed this part, but injuries are starting to pile up now on this team.
Unlike last year.
Right. Yeah. Big injuries, and they've been okay. You have Tarasenko, then you had Steen. Now, as of last night, you have Blais.
Yeah.
I think that's a big one right there. I think that's one either. Is there somebody behind him? Step up, let's go.
There better be. They're going to,
They hired Troy Brouwer.
Yeah. They signed him to a one-year
deal. One-year deal.
Huh? Brought him out of retirement, or whatever you want to call it.
I think...
if anybody, he's kind of like we talked about it last week about who's going to fill that maroon role. He's probably your best bet.
He's the closest,
right there.
Yeah.
Other than Barbashev, but not sure they want Barbashev doing that, or making that 100% of his game. You know
No,
what I mean?
he. My problem with him is he's already a loose cannon, and he does stuff that he shouldn't do, and gets docked 2 games here. He got lucky. They didn't take him. They didn't suspend him this time.
Huh? Put him in timeout?
Yeah,
Is
but
that what you're
they keep
saying?
pulling. I mean, you don't want to lose a guy like that 2 games, 3 games. It's okay during the season. What happens in a playoff series?
Right.
You know, that's a guy you need. But yeah, so Blay not being there, I think, is a big deal. I want to see how they who steps up.
Well, the thing is, it's not so much him, but they're piling up now. They're starting to pile up.
Right.
And you don't know who else is hurt too, or banged up,
right.
or is maybe right there.
Speaking of that,
maybe Vinny Dunn's hurt. You don't know.
what about O'Reilly? Do you think there's something wrong with him? He plays a lot of minutes though. I just haven't seen the production.
He had that wrist at the end of last year. I mean, you're right though. There's one thing I've noticed about him. He's not shooting the puck enough.
No.
He's passing off. I noticed that the other night I was watching the game, and I'm like, he's electing to pass when he should be shooting a lot of the time.
And that's not what he was doing last year.
No.
No. So I'm wondering what's happening there.
Now, earlier in the year, he had a couple, zingers in the top shelf. I mean, but maybe he got hit. You never know. And it aggravated that injury again. And because I've noticed that, you bring up a good point there. You made me think of something that I've seen as of late.
Right.
He's electing to pass far more than he is to shoot. He needs to shoot the puck.
And they need people who are going to put. We need goal scorers. And right now, that's why I go back to Blay. He was muscle, but he was also he would be one of the guys crashing the net. He'd be one of the guys taking those chances, getting that puck. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is a time for Thomas to step up, and maybe Sanford can do. De La Rose, where's he?
Up in the press box, apparently.
I mean, Fabry was playing when he wasn't hurt. Problem was he was always he would get hurt a lot. So
right.
And your buddy Bennington, he's playing.
He's playing
top
well.
Shelf game, right?
No complaints there.
So, but yeah, I'd like to see what they end up doing with these injuries and how they play out. And this is where the coach earns his money.
Yeah, and who steps up?
Yeah.
What players earn their money?
Yeah.
Right. Team effort.
Speaking of earning money.
Yeah.
What about these uniforms the Blues are going to wear tonight? I know we've talked a lot of the Blues today, but we'll cover some.
The
other
clown
ones,
suit. Let me tell you something. Okay, can I just?
I would love. Tell me, please.
The worst hockey jersey of all time history, not only in the Blues organization, but in all of the league. Okay.
Joe Fresta, I have to agree with you 100%.
The worst, but
without a doubt,
I'll give a hand to their marketing department for if you're going to trot that thing back out.
Yeah.
It would only be, and would only have to be, the year after they won the first Stanley Cup of their lifetime.
I hate to think
because people are so Blues crazy, they'll buy up anything.
I know.
They're thinking, what? They're probably sitting around in a room, right? And they're thinking, what? If we're ever going to trot this jersey out, now's the time.
I hate to
get
think
this out of the way. Maybe we'll get lucky and sell a few of them. I don't know.
I hate to think of this.
I mean, but that
that jersey this year is going to have the Stanley Cup insignia on it. Think about it.
Brutal.
That just kills me.
Two things. They might sell a lot of them if they have 99 on the back, because
that was the next thing I was going to say.
That was a jersey.
And I hate that's how we got to remember him.
That was the one thing that made me sad. That I thought when he came here, I thought, that poor guy, he's got to wear that thing.
He had to wear that clown suit. And calling him a clown suit.
It's a good thing, though, that he tucked his jersey in his pants.
Yeah.
Because it kind of offset that awful diagonal deal they had going on. And if you noticed on the newer version of it, they've relaxed that.
Oh, really? I didn't notice that.
Look at a picture.
I'll have to look at that.
Instead of going like that, now it's going like that. It's a very subtle slant, which hats off to him again. But let me tell you something. Other than the Vancouver Canucks black, orange, and yellow and gold Halloween machine uniform. And the Coyotes had a pretty ugly one, too.
But not even those. I'm going to say this one outflanks them.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Because it just,
at
least those were funny. They were entertaining. The Vancouver one was at least a little bit of, I didn't like it, but at least you said, oh, look at that. But this one was just like, why?
And then the Flyers when they had the Cooperalls. Remember that? Oh, brutal.
or the Bruins.
And they
beat.
looked like they were wearing. They had the jersey. They were like the mid-drift jerseys. They looked like those guys that, those beach bums that like thought they were weightlifter guys.
Yeah,
right?
they were gonna go.
Yeah.
They were gonna go surfing afterwards. No,
Yeah,
I
brutal.
get rid of this outfit. I'm done.
The clown suit is the worst jersey of all time
I agree.
history. Can we both agree on that?
I agree 100% with that.
I wouldn't be caught dead wearing that.
No,
thing.
thank you.
Anyway.
All right.
What else?
How about Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin? Sagan, sorry.
Owners on them again? Are they?
Well, I mean, they've been performing lately.
Well, good. They should be.
They've come and done their business. They seem to be opening up. Dallas has gone on a streak. I think they're second or third now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they beat up on our whipping boy, the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? They had a good win against them the other night. Yeah, they'll turn it around. They got some good players on that.
They
team.
are, and they're a team that everybody's like, oh, they're talented. What's going on? Well, they were just. But those are teams that were losing games, one by one goal here, hitting a post there. So you knew that would finally.
Right.
So.
Yeah, again, it's the. It's the ebbs and flows.
How about your friend?
What about my friend?
Pekka Rinne.
Pekka Rinne. What about him?
What about that car wreck down there?
Huh? Yeah, you're right. They're sinking. They keep sinking in the standings, don't they?
They go down.
There's another one that's
he's supposed to be.
Hot.
Well, a perfect example. They aren't losing. They're not winning games, or you can attribute their losses directly to Pekka Rinne at times.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that to my buddy Henrik Lundqvist. You can't say that they lost games directly because of him. He didn't make a save here or there. He kept them in games. Pekka Rinne's been chased out. And the rest of the team, don't get me wrong, right? He's just part of the symptom.
Yeah, I just think it's a whole team deal down there.
And they are
but they keep going further south in the standings.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't blame it all on Pekka Rinne.
You know what? You're right. I can't blame it all, but down there. It's very apparent when he is not on. They need him. That's why it's such a big deal. They absolutely need him to be Pekka Rinne, and when he's not, they can't seem to make up the difference.
Let me ask you something. Not about hockey.
Okay.
Well, it is about hockey. Have you ever been down there for a game?
Yes, I sure have.
What'd you think?
It's phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Absolutely phenomenal.
I heard it's the best road trip on the circuit.
It is without a doubt.
Even the players say that.
I mean, I've been to other cities, like I told you. We've been to Detroit. I've been to Chicago.
Right.
That was by far, absolutely phenomenal. The layout, the atmosphere, just everything about that place. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that. I heard it's why I've not experienced it yet. And I want to get down there to see a game.
So you go to a game.
Yeah.
And you got to imagine, the atmosphere is awesome. They hung a banner for winning the division or something.
Yeah. Well, hey,
but hey, you know what? Whatever.
Laugh. That's what the Blues did for 50 years.
Right, exactly.
So I mean, just anything, they'd hang a banner.
They'd hang. So that's going up there, and the arena's cool. It's a great space, but the game's over. You come down this long escalator, and it opens right out onto Broadway. And you've got a mile of bars and music and honky tonks and clubs and people. Yeah. It's a fun place. It's a fun experience.
Reminds me of a building I was going to build right where the Blues practice facility is. Yeah.
I was going to do the same thing.
It's strikingly similar. Yeah.
They must have stole. They must have stole.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Stole your architect.
That's a whole other show.
Oh,
brutal.
So anyway, that's a great place to see a hockey game.
Yeah, and that's definitely on my list. I want to go down there and take all that in.
When the Predators are better, it's better, but.
Well, I just
But it's still a great.
That's neither here nor there. I like to go to the United Center and watch go to Blackhawk games. I think that's a great atmosphere there. I mean, they don't have the open the doors and there you are in Las Vegas type deal, but just that the building. There's something about the energy there.
Yeah.
It's
a cool vibe.
It's a different. Yeah, it's a different vibe at a Blackhawk game.
It is. It's a lot of fun.
I don't know how to explain it, but. It's fun, Chicago's a great town. It's relatively close, but they say now, Nashville it's tops.
Yeah,
it's tops. Top favorite destination even for the players. It's their number one road visit.
I enjoyed it. I've done it twice, and each time it's been a great
You'd
experience.
think it'd be Vegas.
I've never been there, right? I can't imagine.
You've never been to Vegas?
I've never been to the game in Vegas.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, I've been to Vegas, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean the players saying how Nashville.
Yeah.
I think that poll was taken before Vegas had a team. that might change now. But hey, like I said, if I'm the general manager of any team going into Vegas, hey boys, we're flying in. We're gonna play the game. We're hopping on the bus back to McCarran. We're on a jet. We're heading back home.
That's why it's not as fun. Because
Yeah,
I bet a lot of teams do that.
They take all the fun out of it.
Exactly.
By design.
Nobody's coming down an escalator and going down the strip.
There's no upside to getting there a day early.
No,
right?
you're not going to let you, right?
No.
Yeah, it's Oh man, what do you got? Anything else?
I don't know.
You annoyed by anything?
It's a quarter out. We're quarter into the season. And
I like the hockey I've seen so far. I will say that. I've enjoyed it.
What I like is how hungry the Capitals and the Bruins are.
Yeah.
I mean, they really are. I know we touched on it a little bit earlier, but they're really hungry to get back there.
I'm going to go that far. They're hungry to get back there, but then they're also being chased by some that East Coast, that conference is tough, and it's great because the Islanders are not. I know other years they've done they've kind of fallen off, but they are a solid team. They've come back from.
Well, it's been a long time coming, right? I mean,
but they have talented kids.
Yeah, and it's kind of a fun thing to see because they're so young, and so now they're really starting to have some success, some big success.
And they're going in, they're slugging it out with other teams, with teams that could take them down. Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh was up on them 4-2.
Mm-hmm.
They end up coming back. But no, you're right. That whole Washington seems like they're really poised to do something.
Yeah.
And Boston is just they've got one thing on their mind. They've got one thing on their mind.
Yeah. So. They've got something to prove.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they are head and shoulders above the rest. I mean, it's a tough division. But out west, there's not slackers out west.
Capitals are first place overall right now.
They are that, and they're solid.
And whoever said the Western Conference was tops.
No. Not what we're seeing so far.
That's no longer the case.
I mean, I watch Edmonton play. Everybody's, great for McDavid, great for Draisaitl, but, I don't, you got to have more than just the two-man show. Well, when you play 30 minutes a game,
Yeah.
I don't know.
What about the San Jose Sharks when we go back to the Western Conference? I mean,
I've never been a San Jose Sharks
Have they just kind of run out of window, I mean, is their window closing on them?
I'm sorry, they got great players, but they're like you said
old.
about the Blackhawks. Not only do they have a lot of mileage on them in San Jose, they're old. You're right.
And they bring on Carlson, they sign him, but he's not the same player he was 3 years ago.
No.
He's just not. I mean,
and he's not your linchpin back there. You need somebody else. He's your second guy.
You got, Brent Burns,
who's 36, 35.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the problem,
Yeah.
I've never been on the Sharks bandwagon. They've always struck me as an older team. You like all the speed and the action. They've never been that kind of a team.
No.
So, I mean, and they're getting right now, as far as I'm concerned, they're getting outplayed, out-talented by Phoenix.
Yeah, they bring back Thornton and they bring back Marlowe, and it's like it's like getting the Beatles back together again, right? I mean, it's just, what are we doing here? Sometimes.
Yeah, they're
a
wreck.
You gotta say goodbye to the nostalgia of the whole thing,
and you got some teams out there that are wrecks, but because they're in rebuilding years, and they've said as much. They are not. This is basically their last gasp, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and then they're gonna have to go to a big time restructuring. I mean.
Yeah, they put all their chips in on this team,
and nothing to show for it.
Well, I mean, Rick Tockett's got them boys playing pretty good hockey down in Phoenix.
Yeah,
that's what you got to look at. You can't look at the Blues. You can't look at the Capitals. If you're the Sharks, you got to look at your neighbor.
Yeah, they're kind of. I can't put them in the same, bottle as the Islanders.
No.
As far as the Western Conference is concerned, the Coyotes have been
they've been
impressive.
Yes,
really
yes.
impressive.
Yeah, they have been.
I mean, there's another young team, kind of probably going over expectation at this point.
They are.
Hit
No,
the
you're right.
corner mark.
You're right.
I mean, Rick Tockett's got these guys believing.
Another coach who's come in, said, established the system, had everybody buy in, and is seeing results.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
So,
Yeah, I'm impressed by them. Like you said, yeah, they're not the Islanders. They don't have that kind of talent. However, as a team, they play as good as anybody in that Western Conference.
And that's what's kind of neat to see, from that perspective, is that they're just, they don't have any real superstars or anything. They're they're just a group together, team. And
you mean Darcy Kemper's not a superstar?
Well, maybe in your eyes. Man, oh man, you see him win 2 games, and he's your favorite goaltender of all time.
No, I think he symbolizes how that team's playing right now.
Yeah,
they have bought into a system. They play, they come out every night. They give it everything they got. And it's good for them. I like to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of that Cinderella story of the NHL. Thus far.
And I think we talk about the East Coast. You always talk about the Capitals. You talk about the Bruins. I know, but what about Montreal? Quietly, slowly, they're just hanging in there. They're sloshing out games. They're not being.
They dropped one in overtime to the Flames.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
but
Capitals lost to the Rangers last night 4-1. So
right.
It happens, right?
But,
they have nights like that.
Right. Exactly.
But
yeah, I mean, I love seeing the Canadians have success.
I do too.
Right.
It's important.
Even after so many years of, especially so many years of not having a whole lot of success.
Right.
Because it's such a great, a great brand and a tradition and a hockey market, and a special hockey market, right? So, and I'm as a whole, I pretty much love any original 6 team just because I'm a history guy and I love the nostalgia and the traditions that each club carries and all the players and the retired numbers and all that kind of thing. I love that stuff. Yeah. And the Canadians are tops in that area for me.
So speaking about the Canadians and what we spoke about earlier with Halak, you said, oh, they must have known something. Yeah. They knew they had Carey Price. That's
exactly
that's
right.
what they knew, right?
I mean, I don't know who that GM was at the time who made that decision, but man, was he on the money?
Wow, right?
I mean, everybody was thinking, we were the ones. We're in St. Louis, and so we're like, what are they doing? They just gave us this guy. I mean, are they nuts?
Put that rookie in there. What's he gonna do?
They just, what are they doing? Boy, did they know something we didn't know.
Yeah, they did, and that's turned out really. I mean, good for them. I'm glad for Montreal. I like to watch them and
absolutely
enjoy it.
You ever been to a game there?
No. Boy, wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, I'd love to go. I really wish I would have been able to go to the Forum. Yeah.
Yeah.
The old Forum in Montreal.
Do you think they would have to have like trips?
It's still around. It's like part of a shopping mall.
Oh, really? They didn't knock it down?
No. Like you could go there and it's like, here's center ice.
Yeah.
And,
You know how they do, a lot of these baseball guys will try to go to every stadium in the country or whatever.
Should we do that?
You want to try with the hockey?
Do that. Huh?
That would be something
Would your
to do,
wife
right?
let you do that?
No. If I said, I'm going with Joe Fresta, what do you think she'd say?
Yeah. Double no.
Oh.
Huh?
But that'd be hey, you know what? We're going to go see 2 or 3 this year. Pick out 3.
Well, I'd like to go to Nashville.
I'll take you. Let's go.
How about Nashville?
Yeah.
Chicago?
And does it have to be a Blues game?
No.
No, right? Just to go.
Absolutely
because,
not.
Okay.
No,
yeah.
I don't. That doesn't matter to me.
Right.
I don't care. I just like watching hockey. I'm a hockey connoisseur.
You are. Oh, you are.
Yeah.
Look at you.
I wouldn't say that I'm a fanatic.
Okay? No, you're not a fanatic.
I don't get crazy about it. Right?
You don't. It's like being a wine connoisseur. You don't drink a lot of it. You just drink the right. You enjoy the right stuff.
A little bit of Montreal,
the best stuff.
A little bit of Boston, a little bit of Phoenix.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe we should change our name to the Hockey Connoisseurs.
Yeah. Well, that's what
it wouldn't fit. It wouldn't fit in the. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. That's
copyright.
That's my handle on the radio. But
yeah, that'd be kind of neat thing, right?
Yeah. Right.
Have a group of people just to
Yeah.
Do a run.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
No, I'd like to go. Yeah. love to go to Montreal.
I would love to do
Toronto,
that.
love to go to
in the wintertime. That'd be fun. So.
go check out some restaurants.
Yeah. 13 games tonight in the NHL, so that's a big night.
A lot on the docket.
I'll see what happens. A lot of things shaking out into the next quarter of the season. See how that all goes.
Yeah. You know, this is where all the teams measure themselves, right? After that first quarter mark, those first 20 or so games, they say, okay, let's sit down and look at what we're doing here, where we're at, what we need to do. You know,
but the next
no
quarter,
real player movement. But you do look at, you know, the coaches that they're, you know, the players are kind of, you know, they don't really mess around. But the coaches, and like you said, once they see one head roll, then it starts to, it's all in their minds, right? Okay, what about, you know?
It's okay now. It's been, but the next quarter are where the teams establish themselves, right? So the next 20 games, we're going to see who does what and where they stand, and pretty much calls out the season.
Point.
Yeah. So
anyway.
All right.
Are we finished?
I think we're finished for this week.
Were you gonna mangiare somewhere?
I am gonna mangiare first. We're gonna go. I have another meeting to go to.
Okay.
And then, I guess wherever my wife says we're gonna eat, that's what we're gonna eat. See, Joe Fresta doesn't have that problem.
I wouldn't understand that.
No.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You want to share in my pain? You want me to tell you where we're gonna eat so you know what to do?
Nah, you know what? You got to take a couple sips of your cocktail last night.
I did.
And you had to run off.
Well,
you had to go.
You know what? There's a wisdom that you gain over 30-something years of marriage.
Wisdom, you're that?
Yes, there's a wisdom. Yeah.
Okay.
So now we're what are we, a marriage counseling show all of a sudden? Because only one side of this table. No. It's I love my wife.
I do too.
She's the best thing ever.
She is. She's the best. She can bake. She can cook.
She can cook. She can bake. So we might be having dinner at home. I don't know.
Why don't you ever invite me over?
You know what? You're right.
Single guy.
You're right. I should. I will talk to my wife and we will get that taken care of.
Will you come by and pick me up in the golf cart?
Absolutely. Doesn't matter what the temperature is.
You're a great partner. No, not at all.
All right, Joe. This has been the Hockey Mafia. Yeah. I am, as always, Jay DiMaggio. This is
Joe Fresta.
And till next time, man. We'll be back.
Ciao.
Ciao.